Hello everyone, I'm Rafael Alvarez and this is Alvarez Metalworks. So today what we're doing is a quick overview, initial overview of the Evolution Rage 3 chop saw. As you can see, we're doing a little bit of an unboxing and setup so you don't have to look at my face while I'm rambling on. I bought this specifically to cut metal. Now, for those of you that work with metal, you know that you have really three options as far as chopping up metal. Well, four if you want to do it by hand with an angle grinder or with a cutoff wheel. But you have your abrasive chop saws, and you have your band saws, and then you have your dry cut / cold cut saws, depends on what you want to call it, which is a saw that uses a blade that looks a lot like a standard carbide wood blade. It doesn't get the metal hot, so it doesn't change the properties of the metal. Typically, if it's a good blade and a good saw, you're not going to have any burrs, things like that. One of the other thing with abrasive discs is you tend to get, or abrasive chop saws, is you get disc deflection. That's when you're chopping into it and the disc actually starts wandering a little bit and flexing out of the way. Could be due to a number of different reasons. But the cold cut saws, because you're dealing with metal blades, tend to eliminate that, or not necessarily eliminate it, but reduce it dramatically. So now how much this one actually does that, time will tell. Anyway, there's a couple things that I want to show you. This particular one actually spins at a fairly high RPM for a standard cold cut dry saw, but the blades are rated for that RPM. Okay, as far as what the RPM is, I'll have to look that up and tell you guys later, because I'm in the middle of shooting this video and I'm unprepared. So here's what it'll cut as far as its specs are concerned. The blade that's currently in here is actually a combination blade. It's really a wood blade, okay? But it's designed in a way, it's like a jack of all trades blade. So you can use it for a little bit of metal cutting. You could use it for a little bit of wood cutting. You could also do some plastics and things like that with it. And it should be just fine. Now, in other reviews of this saw, I've heard people complain about the cuts being a little bit jagged, not quite as clean as they would like them to be. These are all people that were using this combination blade to cut steel. Evolution has a steel blade, okay? They have blades designed strictly for steel, strictly for stainless steel, strictly for aluminum. This blue one here is designed for steel. We will be talking about that a little bit later in the video. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna shoot a whole nother video that does a side-by-side comparison of the cut quality between these two blades when it comes to metal, so that you guys can see it. I'm gonna try not to have this video too long. That's why. My initial thoughts on this is it's everything that I hoped it would be. I knew there was going to be some limitations to it, and there is. The clamping system is not the best. Ideally, the fence system, the little tray here at the bottom, would be wider if possible. But then you run into boxing issues and then just cost of the casting. These supports, I'm not a big fan of these. I'll probably end up taking them off. And especially because I actually damaged this one. On this side here, what you have is an adjustable stop, and it's really flimsy. Not a fan of it at all. It slides back and forth. It's plastic. It flops. It's not accurate. I mean, it could possibly be accurate enough for you, but it's not that accurate. The other thing is, if you put this clamp on this side, it hits the motor. That's kind of a bummer, but I knew that was going to be the case when I bought it, because I saw a reviewer complaining about it. Now, typically, I feed my material in from the left side. If I put it over there, there's not a clearance issue. The reason why that clamp was over here is because in doing a compound cut, like you're seeing right here in this video, where you're doing a 45 angle plus a 45 bevel, it will hit the clamp on this side, or it'll hit the clamp on the left side, so you have to move the clamp to the right side, which, depending on what it is that you're cutting, if you're cutting metal or if you're cutting wood, wood's usually not that big of an issue. When I'm cutting wood, I typically don't use a clamp on any chop saws, but with metal, I try to. What I would recommend is that you maybe get some regular style, clamps or whatever, and clamp it to the fence, and just remove those. It's really going to depend on your setup and where the cut's taking place on the stock material. So when this thing first came to me, if you guys look right here, the laser is way off. Now they give you a little guide thing here that you got to cut up and kind of fold and set up. I haven't bothered to adjust the laser. I probably will tinker around with it at some point, but the fact of the matter is I really don't trust them. Okay, it's not hard for me to take this thing and set the blade down on the material like so and see exactly where I'm cutting. If I'm using this saw over my abrasive saw, that means I'm looking for a cut that is perfect, and I'm not going to trust the laser to that. Okay, I'm gonna make my marks. I'm gonna make sure that that saw is exactly where it needs to be on the mark, so that my cuts are consistent. As far as blade longevity, I'm not entirely sure how long they're going to last. We'll talk about that in the future. I'll do a long-term review on this thing as I start going through these blades and let you know, realistically how long they're lasting. They are more expensive than abrasives. I already have it in my head that this is only going to be used for critical type cutting. Just because my abrasive chop saw works just fine for stuff that's non-critical, and the blades are substantially cheaper. Some features about this outside of that: it's a sliding chop saw. So you got, this is a 10-inch blade, which isn't that big of a blade. You can go with the bigger ones, but the 10-inch blade is going to be more than enough for most of the things that I need to cut. Now, in this video where I'm chopping up this piece of wood, it's 2 2x4 stacked, and it cut right through it. That's typically going to be bigger than any piece of metal that I'm cutting in here. Or if I need to chop up a piece of 4x4 lumber, it's big enough. Okay? I was a little worried about the 10-inch blade not being big enough, but it's definitely fine. Another feature is there's a switch up here to turn your laser off, which is sealed and not very easy to press because it's got this little seal on here. But you see the laser's off. The other thing is you have this locking pin that keeps the saw locked down. You got this that will lock it into position so it doesn't slide, which is nice to have, because what I will say is this: if you're cutting a small piece of material, you have a tendency to do this. Saws all the way back like so, and as you lower this down, you start pulling it away on accident. It just happens. It's not a good thing to pull this away as you're cutting into the material. You always want to be going towards the material. So if you're cutting something that just a quick chop will take care of, I recommend locking this down so that you don't accidentally pull it away. Let's get this locked down here again. Sorry about the shaky camera. Deal with it. It's got the port here for your dust collecting. So right now it's plugged because I was cutting metal. You also have the little bag, dust collector bag on there, and a vacuum adapter for it. So it comes with a couple of Allen wrenches. One's for the blade. The other one is for these stops or these slides. And that other one is also for the laser adjustments, which are over here. So, as far as assembly is concerned, as you guys sit here and watch me assemble it, you're going to need to read the instructions. I'm sure you could try to figure it out without reading them, but read the instructions. It's pretty straight and simple. The only thing I'm going to caution you guys on is this. Okay, so if you look right here, we've got a set screw here to clamp down this bracket, the support here for the material load. When I was tightening that down, I actually broke this. So if you look underneath here, there's a small tab. And, apologize about the shaky camera and everything. I'm trying to get you guys a good angle there. But you see that very, very thin, narrow tab that the tube is running through right here? The one above it is the one I broke. Now, as you tighten it down, it's putting pressure on that tab. It's putting down pressure on it. And as I snugged it up, apparently I'm Hercules, or this thing's just made like shit. I'm assuming it's both. It snapped the bottom off of that tab. And now there's really no way to tighten this down properly. Which, again, is going to be one of those things where I decide to just scrap that, using those, scrap using those as an idea. So, now that you've seen that, that's kind of my fault. I'll take some blame for it, but ultimately it kind of sucks. Now back here, you got your, this is a spring-loaded wrench. Loosen it up, and then you could tilt your saw for the bevel cuts. It's also got a little spring-loaded locking mechanism in here, so it will lock itself into place. See, it locked itself right there so it doesn't go any further. If I pull that pin, sorry about this, this is not easy to do. Then I can lower it all the way down. So tighten it back up like so. Real simple. As far as rotating it, loosen up this, squeeze the trigger, and rotate. Now this is another reason why I wanted one of these style saws. With my regular abrasive saw and typical cold cut saws, the saw itself does not rotate when you need to cut a 45-degree angle. You have to move your material. Now with a saw like this, I can set up a chop station, which is basically a really long table that I feed material in on rollers. And if I ever need to do a bevel cut or I need to do an angle cut, I move the saw versus moving that entire piece of material. Just rotate the saw to whatever angle and everything's good to go. With those standard chop saws and standard cold cut dry saws, you have to move the material, and it's really clumsy. You typically have to be working on a big welding table. You're not going to be able to do a chopping station with one of those unless you're just looking at doing 90-degree cuts. So I think that's pretty much it. I think I've covered everything. If you guys have any questions that I haven't covered, I'm not doing a big long review on this thing because I haven't used it that much. I will do a follow-up long-term review. The saw seems well built. The slides for I don't know what you want to call this part of the saw seem to be very, very fluid, and that was something that I had some concerns about because the saws that you check out in the store, they kind of bind up. They don't seem to flow very well. This one does. It's not Chinese made. Well, it could be, but the company claims that they're made in England. I know it's an English company. It seems to be, outside of that issue that I had with you know, that adjustment thing just snapping off. It seems to be a well-made saw. And for the price point, I really don't have anything to complain about. Not too much. You know, there's some stuff on here that could definitely be improved, but for a $200 chop saw that can do dry cut, cold cut, cutting of metal, I'm not going to complain at all, because typically those saws are about $300 to $600, or if you really want to get industrial, you're going to be paying into the thousands. So I'm really happy with my purchase at this point. Again, we'll do a long-term review. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. Like always, subscribe, comment, like. Put a link down in the description where you can buy this on Amazon. If you choose to do it, it will help me out. I'm an Amazon affiliate, so I get kind of a commission off of it, I guess you can call it. It doesn't cost you anything. As a thank you to you for the support, go check out RoarkSupply.com. Use coupon code METAL, and you can save 10% off anything that you order from them. They do not sell this saw, but they sell a lot of other things that you can use in your shop. Go check them out. Thanks for watching. Talk to you guys later.